Hey everyone, welcome to Virtual ImageOut. My name is Michael Gamilla. I'm the programming director, and we're very excited to talk about the film Give or Take, which premiered this morning. But before that, I'd just like to remind everyone that all our films are eligible for the Audience Awards. So make sure you come back to Eventive, especially if you are watching the movie on a different platform. Come back to Eventive and cast your vote. And all the films deserve your feedback. And I have a couple of great guests who will talk about the film with us today. And I'd like to bring them in. First is director Paul Riccio.
Hey, Michael.
Hey, Paul.
Hi, Alan.
And also we have the writer and actor in the film, Jamie Effros.
Hey, co-writer, we wrote it together.
Yes, correct. It's a good thing you brought it up. It's a nice segue to what I wanted to ask. You guys are super hyphenated in this movie, like actor, co-writer, co-producer, director, co-producer, co-writer. So I'm always intrigued when I see so many, so many. You took on so many tasks in the film because it means that you're very committed to the film. Either that or you're trying to save money. But so how did this collaboration come about?
I had a kernel of an idea about 4 years ago or so, 5 years ago. I think like everyone else, I'm losing track of time. Kernel of an idea, and Jamie and I had worked together before and worked well together and enjoyed each other's we have similar sensibilities and dissimilar sensibilities, which I think Jamie can probably speak more to as far as the screenplay goes. But Jamie was the first call I made. It was a real kernel of an idea, and then we had the bright idea to write it together, and here we are. That's basically it.
Yeah, and as far as the multi-hyphenate stuff goes, it's definitely a combination of both of the things that you mentioned. I mean, it is first and foremost the fact that we worked really hard for a long time on the script, and we really wanted to make this thing. We really felt very strongly about it, and we wanted to make it a reality. And we didn't have that much money, and we didn't have access to a whole lot of money. And scraping together what we could to make the film, it just necessitated us doing as much as we could do on our own to be able to make it happen.
But that's very true for a lot of indie filmmakers too, and you're not you're in the same boat with a lot of the filmmakers that even we have in this current festival. So you started talking about having a kernel of an idea and collaborating and writing the story together. For me, being a gay of a certain age, you get to be exposed to a lot of loss, loss of friends, loss of lovers, and so you get surrounded by grief and all that. That has just become a reality. You go on Facebook and one of your friends has passed. So what about the story of grief and loss? What about it that gravitated you towards it and writing a whole film about it?
I mean, from my life, I've had a lot of loss in my life, and it's something we all experience. Maybe I probably experienced a little bit more at my age than some folks. My parents died when I was young, and an older brother died, and my sister just passed from ALS, and so I've had a lot of that in my life. And what I've come to realize is that grieving is it's a self thing. You don't really think about, if you're honest with yourself, you don't really think about that person who's gone as much as you think about yourself and how their loss is affecting your life. And I think that's something we did a good job in Give or Take with, as far as, you've got Martin and you've got Ted, and they're both, let's be honest, they're both a little bit selfish, as far as, this man they both loved leaving them, maybe and prematurely for both of them. Martin never having the ability to, or the time to, sort of not reconcile, but just have that relationship sort of come full circle with his father. And then Ted, of course, only knowing and being with this man for 6 or 7 years. So they're both coming at it from a very selfish point of view. But I think what happens at the end is they realize they're both on the same page in that respect. So that's something I've always wanted to explore in a film, and I think we did a good job of talking about that in Give or Take.
Did you have anything to add, Jamie?
I mean, yeah, I think the grief is just it's universal, and it doesn't matter who we are, where we come from, and the circumstances of our life. It's something that we all have to deal with, and the truth is that we all deal with it in really different ways, and that we need to be able to see each other in those moments, to like really fully see each other, and to know that it is an extraordinarily personal thing, which is kind of like the other side of like the selfishness, is that it's so deeply personal. And we sort of came around to the story of these guys through an exploration of those themes that kind of like that weaved around and finally landed us here. And yeah. But I think that Paul really put it very well right then.
Well, I agree with what you said, Paul, earlier about when someone dies. It's not so much really about them, but how their death is affecting you. In a way, we are all selfish when we think about losses. And for me, it also makes me think about my own mortality. So it all goes back to me. But I do have to say, though, that even with, we're talking about loss and grief and all that, the film isn't really heavy-handed, or, it's not a heavy dramatic film. There's a lot of lightness to the film that I think makes it even more relatable and easier to digest, because, you're not being bombarded by all the crying and all that. So was that a conscious decision to make sure that your film isn't like heavy drama?
Oh, absolutely. You hit the nail right on the head, Michael. You've got to let the audience off the hook a little bit, right? I mean, you can't have people crying for an hour and a half. So for every sort of moment of tense moment or emotional moment, I think we did a good job of, as I say, letting the audience off the hook. And that's why, Sherry O'Terry in this film is so, she's, integral to this film. She brings so much life and love and humor. And that sort of thing, is sort of sprinkled throughout. So I know Jamie and we really fought hard to make sure that we had enough funny in there to sort of, balance it out.
Yeah, we really thought that we started writing a whole lot more of a comedy, because that's really where our sensibilities kind of go. And as we went on in this process, because this is a first feature for both of us, I think like sort of life insinuates itself into a longer form story, no matter what you are trying to do. So we'd made shorts together, which are easy to be funny and to sort of stay on that level. But the more we wrote together on this piece, and the more we just bounced these ideas back and forth, the more we realized, oh, we're not really dealing with a straight up comedy here. We're this is definitely a dramedy, And I got to be honest, there are a lot of jokes that ended up on the cutting room floor just because, like you said, getting that balance right was really important, and was really clear the way that it would happen after a while. You know, it kind of it made itself clear through the collaborations that we had with other people, that actors and the way that they bit these parts off. The more it became real, the more the obvious humor showed, and then the obvious heartfelt, more dramatic moments showed.
And I love that you mentioned how you left off some jokes from the film, because I like that, because sometimes when you're trying to make it too funny, then it doesn't come across as sincere. And talking about the character of Sherry Ottery, sometimes you associate her with something more slapstick and all that, and you did not go to that. You did not go there, which is great, and I appreciate that. But but the thing with her, you just see her, and it kind of makes you smile already, and that's what's so great about her character. But also going back to the story, I having witnessed so many losses around me, I could really relate to that story about a gay couple where one of the partner dies, and then the family of the person that died isn't really very involved, either by choice of both parties or what. But then when suddenly the death comes, then they become a big part, and suddenly they're ready to reclaim this person. And then suddenly the partner, especially if they did not, work the legalities beforehand, is suddenly left out in the dark or outside. It happened to a friend of mine where, right after the partner died, he was locked out of his house. So it's just so sad. So I think it's just so relatable how you guys did that. But the good thing about what you did in the film, you did not really try to make the character of Ted like a saint, or like the really good guy, the really good partner, and that's someone that's so perfect. And also, you didn't really make the Martin character, a villain either. So again, there's that perfect balance. So was that something that came out of the writing, or is that something that just happened while you were making the film, that you really wanted to make these people more relatable and real people, not just caricatures of good and bad?
Yeah, I think that's really important. I think we worked very hard, because it's very easy to go to caricatures with folks, and we worked really, really hard on making these people fully fleshed out and whole people. And then that's just words on a page, and then you give it to these fine actors who really, they get it. That light bulb goes off and they get it, and they know exactly how to play it. But yeah, we worked really hard with that, because I think you're absolutely right. It's like it would have been too many false notes if Martin or Ted were a bit more intractable in their thoughts. People are complicated, and there's both sides to everybody, and no one's perfect. That's for sure.
It was something that we were really we talked about, I think, with every character that we wrote, was we didn't want these people to be tropes. We didn't want them to be easy, and we if they did get tropey, we wanted to sort of lead people into the idea of what they thought they were going to see, and then do something to flip it on them. We always wanted to keep sort of playing with people's expectations of what a movie like this is supposed to look like, and and so it was, yeah, like Paul said, it was a constant conversation of is this going too far? Is this too mean? Is this too is this too sappy? You know, like really trying to temper it with the way that we would be, or the way that we have seen what we've experienced in the world. So that it's a great compliment that you point that out, because it is something we really worked pretty hard on.
I mean, that whole thing though kind of represents the title also of the film. You know, when you say give or take, it's just like, you know, you give some, you take some. How did you come to this title? Was that an easy choice to? When you first worked, you know, you had this idea. Do you have a title right away, or is this like was it a whole process of coming up with something that's a little catchy but would capture the essence of the film?
It was a whole process, yeah. We had lists. We had lists of titles that we would just shoot back and forth, and we would just kind of sit with. And we would sit at a table and throw one at each other, and then sit there for a while and be like, no, like go back to the list. But yeah, like you said, I think that if you took that away from the title, then we've done well, because I think like that's absolutely a part of it for me, at least. I think for us is the fact that it's not really ever one thing. Like a person isn't really ever one thing, and the story we tell ourselves about ourselves or about another person are never the full story. It's always a give or take of elements and of situations and of a myriad pieces of what makes a person whole. So I think that it was, you know, certainly the literal giving and taking that happens after someone passes, but then all those things that you just mentioned and that I just mentioned too.
So when you guys were writing the script, did you think you were going to be playing the role? Was that the plan from the beginning, or when you started writing, it's like, oh, I can do this?
Well, I mean, that was my intention from the get-go, and that's why my first call was to Jamie, because I thought of this character, and I thought, oh, that's perfect for Jamie. You know, and then, you know, as the writing went on, I wanted to replace Jamie with Brad Pitt. But Brad was busy. So Jamie,
available,
which I'm happy about. No, but yeah, Jamie was the guy from the get-go, and that was always just that was a given for me.
Yeah, and I had to turn down so many offers to do this too. Just like, oh my God, fire a couple of agents, and yeah, no. When Paul came to me with the concept and with the opportunity to be the main character in a feature film and to write it with him, I basically said, "Twist my arm, man. Are you kidding?" It's a dream thing for any actor, especially any actor who writes, you know. So it was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you can write something for yourself, why not, right?
Yeah, makes it easier.
Yeah. But this brings me to an obvious question, of course, that you probably get asked often. How did Norbert get involved in the project?
It's like one of these things that you know, I don't think it happens too often, where you're writing a script, you've got someone in mind who would be perfect, and you're writing it for that person, but you never think that they're going to see the script ever. Because, you know, Jamie and I, we didn't have agents or anything like that. We're just two guys sitting at a table writing. So Norbert was always in mind for Ted. And then Well, Jamie can pick it up here because he was actually the person who ferreted Wilbur out.
I mean, honestly, it was like I put out a Facebook post to see if anybody knew him because I've got a big crowd of theater people. I mean, I've been in New York for 17 years. I know a lot of theater people, and just on the off chance that somebody knew him, and somebody did, and it was like, and someone who could really vouch for me at the right time and got him the script, and then he actually read the script. I mean, like there were so many things that shouldn't have happened that that happened. So it was really an unbelievable kismet, and it was a pretty crazy phone call when I could tell Paul that yeah, not only did he read the script, but
he said yes.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Now, Paul, are you also New York based?
I am. I'm in the city.
Yeah, because I was wondering because of Norbert, if you guys were connected to Broadway at all, and maybe you got other people from that community to work on the film.
Well, you know, Jamie has a much better, not much better, but he has a much, that's his community really, like as far as his peeps. You know, I don't, I go to a lot of Broadway, but I've never directed any stage productions or anything like that. And there's a lot of crossover, you know, I've used, I used casting folks who did a lot with Broadway. So that's the nice thing about working in New York, is that you get to use all these wonderful stage actors that you know, are splitting time between, you know, TV series, movies, Broadway. But no, I don't have, you know, as I said, Jamie's roots are much deeper in the theater than mine are.
Well, and let me be clear, I am very Broadway adjacent, and like adjacent is generous. I'm more like my crowd is more the off Broadway.
Way off Broadway.
You know, I did a lot of off theater, off Broadway theater in my time in New York, and you know, the closest I got was one off. But I do have friends who are certainly Broadway actors, and you know, it does end up being a pretty small world once you're here long enough.
Yeah, I actually was going to ask this question, but apparently someone is asking this question. So Paul, can you bring it in?
Oh yeah.
About Cape Cod?
Yeah. Because you guys are in New York, so why set the movie in Cape Cod?
Okay, so I've spent a bit of time there with my family, and specifically my family and my sister Janet. I come from a large family of 6 kids, and my sister Janet and I very close. She's my big sister, one of 2 big sisters, and so we'd spent a lot of time up there together. And then the nice thing about I'm the youngest of the 6. The nice thing about being the baby of a family is that you have very successful siblings who buy houses on Cape Cod. So my sister, we had been renting a house together with her for a week here, a week there, and then she called me when this was years ago. She's like, "You want to buy a house together?" I said, "I don't think I can. I don't think I can do that." And then in a matter of weeks, she had bought her own house up there. So another nice thing about being the baby and having successful siblings is that when you ask them, "Hey, I had this idea for this movie. Do you think I can shoot it at your home on Cape Cod?" And she was like, "Go right ahead." And because I knew if we went up there, first of all, the Cape is hugely important to the story. Yes, you could have told the story in you know, somewhere in a New York suburb or whatever, but I think the Cape. The fabric of the Cape brings a lot to the story, and people get to see a side of Cape Cod that maybe, even if they haven't visited, it's probably antithetical to sort of what they have in mind of Cape Cod, right? They think of Cape Cod as sand and ice cream and all that sort of thing. So I wanted to show that other side of Cape, the year-rounders, the real Cape Codders. So yeah, so that's basically it. My sweet sister allowed us to shoot in her home. We took over a house for 8 weeks and turned it into a working set, and we shot every inch of that house, outdoors, indoors, the attic, everything you see was practical. We didn't build any sets. That was all right there at that home, and yeah, it was really something. It was really something.
Well, going back to what we were talking before the question about Norbert, so I was a little shocked though when this two-time Tony Award winner started walking on my screen naked, and it's like, well, okay, that's commitment.
Well, Norbert
was difficult to convince him to do that scene.
Yeah, we shot it one take.
I think he would want it to be in one take also, right?
Yeah, he was, but believe me, he was not averse to doing 2 or 3 takes. But I knew, I knew we had it. I didn't see any need to do it over and over again. And it's exactly it's exactly what we needed. So, and it was about 45 degrees out. So, I wanted to make sure that he didn't get too cold.
Yeah, keep that in mind.
I was going to say, did he complain about shrinkage because of the temperature?
Yes, he did several times. But at the same time, what was so great about that was like, we definitely went back and forth kind of quietly, and we're like, we could totally cut this. This is not, super important to the piece. And we came to him being like, listen, man, if you are uncomfortable in any sort of way, we don't have to do this. And he's like, no, are you kidding? It's hilarious. It's definitely going in. It's like, we were like, okay.
But I think it was important in establishing his character that, I'll be who I want to be, and I don't care what you think,
Yeah.
So I think that was, early on, it establishes, how committed he is to being himself. And talking about the other characters, like I was going to look this up, but I was having technical difficulty earlier, so I didn't have time. But, Terrence looked familiar, and even your girlfriend Lauren looked familiar. So I imagine they're from the New York scene as well, right?
Yeah, we worked with a very good friend of mine named Ann Goulder, who's a great casting director, and it was, Jamie will tell you as well. It's really something when you write a script and you put it out there in the world and you get all this love back. And I was blown away by the caliber of talent that were interested. I mean, even Sherry O'Terry, we didn't offer her. She sent us an audition tape. She did the entire scene.
Wow.
The cast role in her own home out in L.A. I mean, she did the whole thing. I mean, it was unbelievable. And yeah, that's Louis Kenchelmy. He's a great actor. He's in a show called Billions on Showtime. He was in the movie The Irishman, the Scorsese movie The Irishman. He played Sally Bugs, the myopic hitman. And,
maybe that's where I'm remembering him from.
Yeah, and he stole the scene. He's in the car scene with De Niro and Pacino, and they're talking about fish. And he steals the scene. He's just terrific. But I love it in the respect that Louis gets all these opportunities to play these heavies, hitmen and mobsters and things, and like his character on Billions is a real sort of heavy. And then he does this character Terrence. He came into the audition. He did it once, and I said, "I'll see you in 4 months." I mean, it was just he embodied it. He's owned the character, and there was just, it's unbelievable. And as I said, it's overwhelming when you get this sort of response.
So I was also thinking, when in the process of your writing, did you decide that you don't want Kenneth, the person who died, that you don't want him to be in the film, not even in flashback, no nothing? Was that something that you really wanted from the beginning, or were you going back and forth whether you're going to be including him in the film or not?
I mean, and Jamie can embellish as well. It was always that was always from the beginning, not to see or not to have this character actually, represented in the movie by someone or flashback or anything like that. We thought it was kind of a fun challenge to create this person. Or these two different people, Ted knows a different guy than his son, than Martin does, right? So we thought it was a nice challenge and kind of fun to sort of create this person who was two different men to both Martin and Ted.
Yeah, there was a little while there very early on where we were playing with the idea of maybe having Kenneth like appear sort of in scenes and even say things that maybe people couldn't hear or something like that. But then that got buried early on, just because it was far too much, again, of kind of a trope that we've seen in other movies. And what we really wanted to focus on was the absence, It's the lack of the person. We want that to be felt so that it can be felt for these two characters, and also to let that the house itself kind of is the stand-in for the character of Kenneth, because it was, as Paul was saying about the location, a big part of this and a big part of his vision was it shooting at this house and using it to its fullest extent, and really kind of mining what happens with a space when there's a person who was there who is suddenly gone. And I think like those things, since we were focused on that, having anything in a flashback or anything like that would have sort of diluted that, would have taken that tension away in some way. And so, yeah, like Paul said, it was pretty intentional from pretty early on.
But I also like that, like me as an audience member watching the film, I don't know Kenneth. So do I believe the picture that Ted is painting or the picture that Martin is painting? And I could relate to either, to both of them, that, I don't really know this person. So I did like the part that I didn't see him at all, except for, I think he was in the program for the funeral, and you got a little glimpse. I'm like, because I'm trying to see what kind of age difference they have, between Ted and Kenneth. But that was a good picture, so I couldn't really tell.
Yeah, there were a few pictures. Hopefully that's not the one that sticks, because we want the ones where he is much older to stick.
Yeah.
But all of those pictures are actually of my dad.
Oh.
Those are actual pictures of my dad. We got my dad to come in and do some snuggly pictures with Norbert, and there's even some kissing ones that never made it into the film. But my dad was very much game to be on board with this, and then all the pictures that you see in the house are of me and my family. All of that is me as a kid. All of that, so. Another advantage to having a writer actor is that I'm definitely game to get my mom to go through all of our family pictures and supply, I don't know, I think 500 selects that she came up with.
Wow. But has your dad seen the film?
Oh yeah, they've seen it. They love it. My dad just howled through it. He was like, I didn't know it was going to be funny. Right. He read it too. He'd read it before then. I was like, comes off on the page a little different, I guess.
But I mean, you spoke about your dad, and but I think the cast as a whole gelled well together. And it's I think it's kudos to you for putting that together, or agreeing to the casting director that this is the cast that would work for your story. So that was a good thing. So I have a few rapid fire questions that may not be as rapid, but I thought when I was watching, these were just thoughts that, oh, who thought that? There were some cool things that knowing that you guys wrote the film, there were cool things that I thought you included in the movie. So I was just gonna ask a couple of them. So whose idea was the hole in the sand and the weed, smoking of the weed thing? Because I thought was very cool, like a timeout place.
That just, I don't know where that came from, but we like this idea of Terrence in a hole, and it sort of grew from there.
It's one of those we keep trying to remember who actually came up with that idea, and we can't remember. Like I used to dig big holes like that on the beach and like sit in them. That is something that I used to do. And Paul used to, when he was a kid, fill up a trash can with water and sit in that. So there was something that was kind of like, there was something that was copacetic about these things, about sort of immersing yourself into a place and hiding in a place that we thought was like that it was appropriate, even if it wasn't like completely contrived at the time.
Yeah, and I recommend, if anyone's out there, if you want to just chill out for a little while, take a garbage can, scrub it out first with like an SOS pad, but then fill it up with water and get in it and put the lid on. It'll just chill you out. It's less expensive than a shrink or that stuff.
Well, I was going to ask that was part of my rapid fire question about the submersion pool, I call it. Instead of a trash can, I don't know if everyone has it, but here in Rochester, our recycling bins are the same thing, because our recyclables only get picked up every 2 weeks. So we have a big bin. So it's the same thing. So you don't have to clean it as much. Well, you still have to clean it, but it's still not trash you're trying to clean. But
yeah, when I realized that when the art department, when our production designer brought me these cans, I said, no, I want a garbage can. She goes, Paul, I cannot find a garbage can big enough to hold Jamie. I said, okay, fine, we'll go with the recycling bin. So it's a little bit of a cheat, but I used to get into an actual garbage can.
But it's so thoughtful though that you had all those steps that were there provided, because if you didn't, it's like, how did that little guy get in there?
Yes, he's little guy is very Colin. He seems like a bright kid, so he seems like the kid who would have a little set of steps going up into the can.
Yeah.
But I feel like if you want to smoke weed, you want to do it right away. I feel like it's too much work to dig. Going back to the beach hole, it's too much work to dig a big hole and then
Oh no, man. I'm gonna disagree here. I think you need to create a special time. You need to create a ritual around these things. If you just like spark it up anywhere, anytime, then it just it loses its it loses the event. And I like to keep it as an event because I can't smoke that much weed, so I have to draw out the foreplay, basically.
Yeah. So the other thing that came to mind is like this idea of feeding the raccoon junk food with antifreeze.
Yeah.
Are you like exterminators, or would an exterminator actually do that?
No, I actually heard a stand-up comedian named Sebastian Maniscalco talking about his father growing up in Arlington Heights, Illinois, outside of Chicago, and his father would have a big garden, and I guess the rodents and whatnot would eat his garden, and so his father would take bologna and put antifreeze on it and put it out for the animals to eat, and it would be like dead animals everywhere. Not a good thing. So that's where I got that idea from. But I didn't want to copy Sebastian, 100%. So I said, let's make ours junk food. But I'm not in. It was just for humor. I'm not condoning. I love animals, even if they're rooting around in your attic. Just get a friendly, have a heart trap. Put them out, somewhere else. Do not injure or hurt the animals.
That is scary though. If you hear like noises, in your attic.
Yeah, no, it's not a good thing, but
No.
The other part that I almost didn't find believable is when Martin was talking to Terrence and the wife. I forgot her name right now.
Emma,
When he started quoting defying gravity, and then Jamie knew that it was defying gravity. I'm like, I can't believe straight men actually sitting next to each other and quoting Broadway music. So where did that come about?
well, and then Jamie, go ahead. But then he has a funny little tidbit that everyone asks us about Norbert and everything.
Well, yeah. I am a straight man. I enjoy musicals. So I'm just gonna put that out there. And,
you don't quote lyrics from a musical, right?
wait, man, this conversation hasn't been that long. You don't know what's gonna come out of me. Suddenly, Les Mis might bubble up out of this conversation. Who knows? Yeah, no, I just thought it was really in the vein of trying to find something that we thought was as far away from Rumi as possible, because he says like Rumi says, and we just and just wanted to be something that, because Terrence is just this like lovable kind of surprising character. He has these tastes that you never know that are gonna be that you never know are gonna, like, things come out of his mouth and you're like, wait, out of this guy? So it was really in that vein, and then just to be able to have like everyone sort of go along with it. It was kind of maybe a stretch of a joke, but at the same time, we wrote that without knowing that Norbert was in the original cast of Wicked. Yeah, and so we get this question all the time: is like that if we planted that like an Easter egg, and the answer is really disappointingly to a lot of people, no. We had no idea that Norbert was in the cast. He had to tell us that. He was like, "What is this line?" So it was very funny. But that little random line is actually, it's one of my favorite moments.
It is. It's a good one.
It was cute. It made me chuckle.
That's all.
Chuckle, chortle. What we're going for.
You use chortle. I'm like, who uses chortle?
People who read the New Yorker.
Yeah. There's this dedication at the end of the film that it's for Janet. So do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, that's my wonderful sister Janet, whose house we shot in up on Cape Cod. So we started. She was diagnosed with the ALS, probably 2015, somewhere in there. And I don't know if you know anyone who has that disease. This is the worst, because it is just a slow sort of decline, and there's really nothing to do. There's nothing you can do to stop it. And so we wrapped the film. We wrapped the film in let's see, I guess May of 2019, and then she passed away in July. She passed away in July of 2019, which was a bit of a shock. She was not, she had some more years in her, but she wasn't the best. And she would tell you she wasn't the best patient. She didn't follow the doctor's orders about everything, but. So she was a real champion of mine throughout my life. Helped me get my first job in production. I mean, I can go on and on and on and on and on. But a real hold in my life now. So the least we could do is dedicate the film to her, because literally without her, we just wouldn't have been able to make the film.
Oh wow, I'm sorry to hear that, but I think. She would be proud of what you guys put together. Uh, which, well, thank you for sharing that. The time just went by quickly. So I guess my final question to you guys is, having, from that moment that Paul, you called Jamie, and you guys got together and uh, put the story together and then shot it, and now it's out there in the world. Are you happy with what the product that you came up with? This collaboration that that is out there now being enjoyed by people?
Yeah, I'm overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed. I mean, the one thing that stinks is that we're in the middle of this pandemic, and we can't all be together. I mean, how much fun would that be? We could all be together in a theater and watching this and laughing and celebrating. And I mean, that's what film's all about, and that's what these festivals are all about. It's community, and so that stinks. That's the part that disappoints me. However, I'm very proud of the film. Very proud. Jamie will tell you, it was. You don't have enough time, you don't have enough money. It was truly independent. But I'll tell you, I've never been around a more dedicated bunch of people, who every person down the line. No one was retiring on this film, on this budget, but everyone down the line was so thoughtful and so dedicated, and the only goal was to support me, support the actors, and to make a film that we could all be proud of. And I think we've succeeded.
Yeah, it was incredible to watch it all come together. I'd never done something to this scale with something that started in my mind, or our minds, and to watch, as Paul said, that level of dedication actually play out on set, day in and day out, and for this film to slowly sort of find its legs and then actually be a part of the world was just like, it was totally incredible. It was totally incredible. And the fact that it even just got finished I was so over the moon about. Now that people actually like it, that's just like icing on the cake as far as I'm concerned. I mean, like, I was so proud of us just for pulling it off. And to have it be received in the way that it's being received, and really touching people. I've had these incredible conversations with people about how much the film meant to them, and it's just it's really humbling. It's really and truly humbling for that to happen, because when you're in the thick of it, all you can see is like maybe the end of the day, and to be on this end is I like Paul said, over the moon.
Well, you really should be proud of what you guys accomplished with the film. It's great, and I feel sorry for you guys, because I know this is both your first feature films, and you were robbed of the experience of being on the red carpet and having this premiere from festival to festival to festival. But hopefully, maybe sometime next year, that might even still be possible, and see it in a theater with friends and family at least. But then again, you can just keep collaborating and come up with another film, right? That might be a good incentive.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully, as you said, hopefully we can do something like that. It would be fantastic. But at the same time, what this pandemic has done for festivals like yours, and for people who are as dedicated to these festivals as folks like you guys are, you've done this incredible pivot to make it be virtual, and that's made it available to so many more people, and it's made it possible for people to have like a real event to look forward to that they can access safely in their homes. And like that's it's really, really impressive, just because I know that like running a film festival, most people don't understand that it's a year-long endeavor. You know, it's not just doesn't just pop up. And B, you know, for us, it means that more people can potentially see the movie. So you know, it's it's a double-edged sword, for sure. But I think that it's endlessly impressive what you guys have been able to do, you know, I hope that it means like great growth for your fest and for our film and for everyone in the long term.
I mean, talk about, you know, like this being a sigh of relief, because 2 months ago it's like, what are we gonna do? Like, is this even gonna happen? And now we're like a couple of days from finishing the festival, the run of the festival, and you know, it's a lot of hard work for a lot of people, but you also get to engage a lot more people to do work and share the burden, because we don't have experience in doing this, so we're all starting from scratch, just like everyone else. But like you said, there are so many challenges. But as I keep saying in some of my interviews, that there are also a lot of opportunities if you find them. And one of those is hopefully, potentially having a wider reach, because people don't have to go to the theater, and you know, they can, if they never felt safe being out in the theater, being seen in a LGBTQ film festival, or just, you know, just never had the time. So now we're bringing the festival to your home, and you can watch films on your own time. And you know, if it's not a limited time either, so you know, you you just have to work with what you're given, I guess. And you know, we all have to go through this together. But on that note, I guess, thank you guys for spending some time with us. And if you want to hang out for a little bit before hanging up, we just have to say goodbye to our audience. And to everyone, make sure that you vote for the film, give or take. Like I said, come back to Eventive, and you can cast your votes there. So see you later.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much for being with us.
Yeah, thank you. It was great.
And everyone, make sure you vote in the election too.
Yes.